All right, so by now, most of you probably know that I'm a teacher, or I talked about it at least a few times already by now, so that should already be established. But if it isn't, I'm a teacher. I teach middle school, 7th and 8th grade. It's a K through 8 school that I currently teach at. And the population here at this school is predominantly Mexican or Hispanic, right? Mexican American, Hispanic, some sort. It's very heavily Hispanic. It's like dominantly Hispanic at this school, which is crazy for me. It was a crazy experience for me in the beginning because I grew up in a small town in Texas, right, where it was honestly pretty diverse. I mean, it was predominantly white though for the most part. Like we had, the country folk, the rednecks, the white collar, blue collar. We had a wide range of the white demographic, but we also had, black, African American. We had some Mexicans. I sat at the Mexican table, throughout high school. We kept it pretty diverse ourselves. So it was a lot more diverse. Like there was still the majority there in Texas, but it was a lot more diverse. Here, it's literally like 95%, like 97% of the kids that go here are like Mexican. But honestly, there's also, African American. There's a black population here for sure. So it's here, right? That demographic is for sure here. But that was kind of a what's it called? A learning curve for me in the beginning. One, so I'm Hispanic. Believe it or not, I'm sure you probably thought I was Arab or Middle Eastern or Persian or Iraqi or whatever. Insert Middle Eastern country here. Egyptian maybe, perhaps. I don't know. But I am in fact Mexican, right? I took a whole DNA test for it and everything. So many people thought I was Middle Eastern or Arab. They're like, are you sure you're Mexican? I took a DNA test about it. It came back. I was like 54% like Mexican or like native Mexican, like Mexican from Mexico. And then 36% was like Spanish, like from Spain. So I know I check to see if it's recording every time, and that probably gets annoying, but I just got to be sure, So, anywho. So, make sure I'm in focus, because sometimes that happens too. All right, I'm just going to assume that I'm in focus here. Please, Lord, let it be in focus. So, what are they saying? Right. Oh, I'm Mexican. The sad thing is, I am what the kids would call me, a no sabo, which is literally an incorrect way to say. It's an incorrect translation to say I don't know. Like I'm a Mexican who doesn't speak Spanish. They call them no sabos, which is sad. It's the reality that I live in. So I'm learning Spanish from my kids. I understand a lot more than I can speak, and even what I understand is not that great. But I'm able to get by, and then I have a student who speaks only Spanish, and so I have to ask the girl that sits next to her. I was like, can you please help me translate? And she's like, no, like you always ask me to translate. Like you need to just learn Spanish, mister. And I'm like, I'm trying to learn Spanish. Like you're teaching me. And so we go back and forth, and the kids give me a hard time, but it's funny. Like they're like, oh, he's trying, I guess. I don't know if they actually think that, but I'm trying to learn, right? It's been too far now, too long, going this long without really speaking fluent Spanish. I mean, my parents didn't speak Spanish to me growing up. My dad had to learn Spanish on his own in the workplace that he was at because he's done stucco his whole life. So he was always on, job sites or, house building sites where he was talking to people and they only spoke Spanish because they're immigrant workers, right? Speaking of immigrant workers, with great transition, with my students, right, being predominantly Mexican, Hispanic, that sort of thing, there is a lot of unrest, uncertainty, and a lot of fear regarding the current crackdown and policy with the mass deportations that the new presidential administration is kind of implementing. Right, you got ICE, you got kids and parents and immigrants are unsure where's a safe place. Like I know there's some sort of, I don't know if this is going through, like I'm no politician, I'm no political expert. I need to be a little bit more up to date with current events, but from what I've heard, it sounds like there's some sort of amendment or some sort of appeal to where schools, churches, places that were normally safe spots for immigrants for refuge are now no longer safe, and people can kind of like, I got students who are literally scared that their families can be broken up at any moment or any time, or that they can be taken out of school at any time. So it's very interesting, to say the least, and interesting probably isn't the right word to use, but it's a crazy time right now where I'm living in and experiencing in real time, in real life, the effects, I guess the group of people, the demographic that's affected by this new crackdown on immigration, right, in this country, right? And what's today? Wednesday? I think it was on Monday. Half of my class wasn't here. The students were like protesting, right? My little freedom fighters, my little looking for social justice. Like, they protested by not showing up to school. And it was like one of my students who was there that day showed me a flyer that a lot of these kids, and like, I guess even parents and just people who were immigrants, people who were, immigrants here, they were protesting to show what it would be like to have a day without immigrants in everyday life or in the workforce. And I'm torn on the matter, to be honest. Like, on one hand, I have students who I see every day, who I work with every day, who I care about deeply, who have grown a special place in my heart in terms of just coming alongside them as their teacher, as their mentor. And they're scared. Like, I got kids that are legitimately scared that they don't they don't know what the next day looks like. They don't know like if their families are going to get broken up one day, or if they're going to get pulled out of school. Like, they genuinely don't know kind of what's going on and how it affects them, and how if they're even safe half the time. Like, they play it off really well, but some of them it really affects, and you can see it. But on the other hand, it's like, man, I'm definitely not trying to make this political, but it just makes me, I don't know, it makes me question, like, well, what's right, what's wrong? How do you judge this situation? Because the Bible, here we go, I'm bringing the Bible back into it. in the Old Testament, especially, I want to say it was like in Deuteronomy, it does talk a lot about protecting the marginalized, right? Protecting those who can't really protect themselves, which is like the widow, the orphan, and the foreigner, or the alien, right? They use the link. Some translations say foreigner, some say alien, some say stranger, some say immigrant. So it talks about protecting and treating somebody who isn't from the country or from that place. It talks about, in the Bible, treating them right, making them feel welcome, making them feel safe. But then in the New Testament, and I'm not even trying to pin the Old Testament against the New Testament, I'm just thinking of scripture that comes to mind. But then in the New Testament, Paul writes to, I don't know what church he was writing to. It was Romans, or it could have been Corinthians, I don't know. But Paul writes that we should obey the laws of the land, right? We should obey the government, because the government is given authority by God. Like, it says that in the New Testament. So it talks about obeying the laws of the land, obeying the authority that you're currently being governed by. But then it also talks about in the Bible, keeping the immigrant safe, making the immigrant feel welcome, protecting the immigrant, protecting the foreigner, the alien, right? The stranger. And I wrestle with that, because I'm like, I want to obey God, and I want to obey the law of the land, right? Because we're not under the law. Where, Jesus didn't come to get rid of the law. He didn't come to abolish the law. He came to fulfill it. But we still have, the God says to still be obedient to our government, to still be obedient to the law. But then over here, it's kind of like these two collide, right? These two principles: protecting the immigrant, obeying the law. How can you do that when the law is kind of targeting immigrants right now? Illegal immigrants, granted, I get it. It's focusing on the illegal immigrants, but just to be honest and straight up, a lot of kids in this area, a lot of families in this area are not documented. Like, they're just not. They've been like that for years, probably generations have been here undocumented. So that's something that I wrestle with, and I haven't got to hear not all my students talk about it, but it's something that's really prominent in conversation. Like yesterday, for example, we took some kids to McDonald's for an after-school club, and then come to school today, and some kids who weren't at the club they're like, I heard you went to McDonald's, mister. Like, dang, they're not with us. Like, they're against us. They don't support. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like McDonald's and Starbucks are canceled right now because they don't support immigrants, or they support Donald Trump. I don't know. I don't know how they made that reason. But to me, I was like, y'all are protesting Starbucks. Like, I know y'all take this seriously because they talk about Starbucks. They ask me every day to give them Starbucks. I have a couple of kids in my class who are like, mister, give me Starbucks. And I'm like, no, schedule one-on-one or like come to club. But the fact that they're willing to not eat at McDonald's or not eat at Starbucks, I'm like, oh, y'all must take this seriously. Now, again, we'll see how long this lasts, right? Because they're kids and they're probably in a week. They're like, dang, I really want Starbucks, or I really want a drink, or I really want this from McDonald's. And they'll probably cave in or crack. But the fact that they're conscious of it, the fact that they're it's probably just a trend. I was in middle school once. I protested and said I wasn't going to eat things and do things. I protested at McDonald's once for health reasons. I was like, yeah, forget McDonald's. I'm not going there ever again. After that that movie called The Founder came out, where they basically exposed Ray Kroc, I was like, yeah, man, forget Ray Kroc. F McDonald's. Like, I'm not going there no more. And I did it for like a good year. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I'll forgive you, which is, whatever. Different situation, not yet, moving on. It's not about me, but it's just interesting. I've never been in a position before where I've been so deeply ingrained with people who are really affected by this. And I'm happy for that because I get to come alongside them and carry the burden with them. But I'm wrestling with it because I'm like, wow, like if I weren't here in this classroom, if it weren't for me being here in this school where the majority of the population is Mexican, or there are immigrants, or they are, kids of immigrants, or I wouldn't be thinking about it. I probably wouldn't be seeing it in my everyday life, but it's here. It's in my everyday life, which God for sure has me here for a reason. He for sure has me here for a reason, and I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to press into that, but I wrestle with that. Matter of fact, somewhat of a side tangent, but it also relates. Cliff Connectley, George Janko, and Bryce Crawford were here the other day at ASU because I'm not too far from ASU. I live in Phoenix. ASU's in Tempe. And I really wanted to ask him that question. I wanted to ask him that question from a biblical context as far as how they wrestle with that when it comes to taking care of the immigrant, but yet obeying the law of the land. Like, how do they wrestle with that with themselves personally? I should have asked the question when I was there Monday. They're back today, Wednesday. I don't know how much longer they're going to be in Arizona. Today might be the last day they're on campus. So if you're watching this and it's Wednesday, go check them out. They're there until 5 p.m. If you're watching this, it's after Wednesday. I'm sorry, I was late. Should have told you sooner. I don't know if they're going to be back again this week. I don't know. I might go check them out again today. It's already 1. I think they're on campus till 5. I'll play it by ear. But anyways, that's kind of, that's what life looks like right now. Being a middle school teacher here in this political environment, right? And I know in many parts of the country, this isn't as big of a concern, but where I'm at right now, in one of the southwestern states, this is a huge deal, right? This is a huge deal. This affects a lot of people. This affects everybody in this community, especially the community that I'm plugged into out here. So, I'm just trying to figure it out. And I don't know, like, how do I be an advocate while also being responsible to my duties as, one, a Christian, like a follower of God, a follower of Jesus, but 2, like, how do I be sensitive to my students who aren't believers, right? Who maybe don't live by Jesus's way of life, but they feel threatened and attacked. Like, I want to be able to wrestle and show up, show up with Jesus for them. I'm not Jesus, but can be the hands and feet of Jesus and show them a glimpse of God's love. And I want to do that the best way I can. And I just, that's why I'm here. I'm sure that's the reason why God has me here. I'm sure that's why he called me here to this space. And I'm happy to be here. I can't complain. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And there's definitely more obstacles and more adversity as time goes on. But, I love it. That's where the growing is, right? You can't grow if you aren't, what was I trying to say? You can't grow if you're not tested, basically. That's how you know. So, anyways, gonna finish this up, wrap this up, and that's all I got for today. So if y'all have any thoughts, y'all have any questions, or maybe y'all can point me in the direction of some resources that I can reach out to so I can be more informed, or just utilizing the internet more. I know I could just Google most of this stuff and probably be brought up to speed. But yeah, send them my way if you got any. So I'd appreciate it. All right, that's it for now. Peace.